I heard the crack before I felt the pain. A sharp sound like dry wood snapping. Then the world tilted, and I was on the floor screaming. My husband stood over me breathing hard. His face was not the man I married. It was cold, almost proud. That was the moment I realized. I was never meant to walk out of that warehouse alive. My name is Elena. I am 34 years old. And 3 days ago, my husband broke my leg and locked me inside an abandoned warehouse. All because I argued with his mistress. It started like an ordinary lie. The kind married men tell every day. He said he was working late. Said not to wait up. Said he loved me. But that night something felt wrong. The house was too quiet. My chest felt heavy like a warning. I followed him. I hate myself for that. But I did. I parked across the street from a small hotel near the docks. Rain tapping on my windshield. Radio static filling the silence. Then I saw her. Young. Confident. Laughing. She stepped out of his car. Straightened her dress. And kissed my husband like she owned him. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. I got out of the car before I could stop myself. My shoes slapped against the wet pavement. I shouted his name. People turned. The girl froze. I said, "Who is she?" He looked shocked for half a second, then annoyed. He said, "Go home, Elena. You are embarrassing yourself." The girl smiled. A slow, cruel smile. She said, "Oh, so this is the wife." Something inside me snapped. Years of swallowing pain burst out. I told her, "You can have him. He lies for a living." I turned to him, my voice shaking. I said, "After everything I gave you, this is who you are." He grabbed my arm. Hard enough to bruise. He whispered, "You are making a mistake." I laughed. A broken laugh. I said, "No. You did." That was when his eyes changed. The same eyes I would later see in the dark. He shoved me into the car. People stared, but no one moved. No one helped. The drive felt endless. Streetlights flashing past like warnings. I asked him to stop. To talk. To think. He said nothing. We reached an old industrial area. Rusty gates. Broken lights. The smell of oil and damp concrete. I said, "Where are we?" He said, "Somewhere you will learn to shut your mouth." Inside the warehouse, it was dark. One flickering bulb swinging slowly. Shadows stretching across the walls. My heart was pounding. I stepped backward. I said, "Please, just take me home." I turned to leave. He kicked my leg from behind. The pain exploded. White hot. Blinding. I screamed as I fell. The sound echoed and came back to me. I felt the bone break. I knew it instantly. I cried, "Please stop." He leaned down, his voice calm, almost bored. He said, "You ruined everything." Then he dragged me across the concrete. My skin burning, my screams swallowed by the walls. He locked the door. The sound of metal sliding into place. Silence, except for my sobbing. And the dripping water somewhere in the dark. Minutes passed. Or hours. I could not tell. Cold crept into my bones. Pain pulsed with every breath. I dragged myself to a wall. Left a trail behind me. I tore my scarf. Tied it around my leg with shaking hands. My phone was gone. My bag gone. I called his name until my throat burned. No answer. I thought, this is how I die. Alone. Forgotten. Disposed of. Then a memory surfaced. One I had buried deep. My father. I had spent my whole life pretending he did not exist. Telling people he was dead. Or far away. The truth was more dangerous. My father was not just feared. He was legendary. A man whose name made grown men lower their voices. A man who owned silence and obedience. He ruled the docks, the warehouses, the streets. A kingpin. I left him years ago, when I married a man who promised me a normal life. I chose love over blood. Now love had broken my leg and locked me away. Night fell. The air grew heavier. The darkness felt alive. Rats scurried nearby, their tiny claws scratching concrete. Metal scraped somewhere far away. I bit my lip to stay awake, because sleep felt like surrender, and I was not ready to disappear. Every sound made my heart race. Every shadow felt like him coming back, to finish what he started. Late that night, the door creaked open. Light sliced through the darkness. My husband stepped inside. The girl behind him. She looked around, wrinkled her nose.
She said,
"This place is disgusting."
I said, "Help me."
She laughed, like it was a joke, like my pain was entertainment. My husband crouched in front of me. His shadow swallowed my face.
He said,
"No one is coming for you." I looked him in the eye. Through the pain, through the fear, I said, "You are wrong." He stood up, kicked my broken leg. I blacked out screaming. When I woke up, the warehouse was quiet again. But something had changed. The silence felt different, heavier,
charged.
I could hear distant engines, low voices, footsteps moving with purpose. At first I thought it was a dream, my mind trying to escape. Then the warehouse door exploded open. Men flooded in, armed, silent, efficient. They moved like shadows, like they owned the darkness. One of them knelt beside me, his voice gentle.
He said, "Princess."
Tears filled my eyes. I whispered,
"Dad."
He appeared from the shadows, older,
scarred,
still terrifying. His eyes took in everything, the blood, the concrete, my leg.
His jaw tightened.
He said, "Who did this?" I said my husband's name. The warehouse fell silent. My father did not shout. He did not rage. That was worse. They carried me out wrapped in a coat. The cold air hit my lungs. I breathed like I had been underwater too long. At the hospital, my father never left. Men stood outside my door day and night. When the doctors said I might never walk the same, my father nodded once.
He said,
"Then the world will adjust." The revenge did not happen fast. It happened carefully. My husband thought I was dead. He went back to the mistress, laughed again, spent my money. He told people I ran away, that I was unstable, that I could not handle the truth. A week later, his accounts were frozen. Everyone. His business partners vanished. Phones disconnected. Doors closed. The girl was fired, then evicted, then abandoned. Friends stopped answering her calls. She came to him crying, asking what was happening.
For the first time,
he had no answers. One night my husband was taken, just like I was.
No witnesses. No noise.
Locked in the same warehouse. I stood there on crutches, the smell of concrete filling my lungs. He shouted my name,
cried, begged. He said,
"I am sorry. I didn't mean it.
Please." I said,
"Do you remember what you told me?" He shook. I leaned closer,
smiled.
I said, "No one is coming for you." I did not break his leg. That would have been mercy. I turned away, listening to his fear fill the space.
My father asked me,
"Are you done?" I looked back once. I said, "Yes." The next morning the warehouse was empty.
No trace.
No questions. I left the city, started over. Sometimes people ask why I walk with a limp. I tell them, it reminds me who I am. Because my husband thought I was weak. He forgot one thing. I am my father's daughter. And my revenge had only just begun.